The galaxy had lived in peace for generations. The Galactic Coalition, a powerful alliance of species, had ruled over the stars without the constant threat of war. New technologies flourished, and peace was a constant rhythm. But in the far reaches of space, where few dared to venture, the silence was broken. It started as a faint signal, weak and irregular, like a whisper lost in the vast emptiness of space. At first, it was ignored, a glitch, a random burst of static. But as the signal persisted, it began to draw the attention of the Coalition's deep space monitoring stations. Something wasn't right. This was no random disturbance. This signal, though weak, carried a familiar frequency. A frequency tied to Earth. Commander Alaric Rin stared at the data on his console, his fingers hovering over the controls. The signal came from deep within a forgotten sect of space, a place where no ships had traveled in centuries. It was the same location where humanity's most feared warship, the Supercarrier, had been last seen. No one has been there in centuries, Rin muttered, his mind racing. The Supercarrier, it was lost, gone, forgotten. The thought seemed impossible. Earth, humanity's home, was a distant memory. The Supercarrier, an enormous warship designed for destruction, had disappeared after the last Great War. It was said to be the last of humanity's great weapons, capable of wiping out entire fleets. After Earth's fall, no one had heard anything about it for centuries. And now, this signal, coming from the exact place where the Supercarrier had vanished. Commander, a voice interrupted his thoughts. It was Lieutenant Kira, his most trusted officer. The signal is not random. It's a distress call. Rin's eyes widened. A distress call, Kira nodded, her face grim. It's coming from the coordinates where the Supercarrier was last reported. Earth's final weapon, the ship that vanished. It's there. It's active. Rin leaned back in his chair, his mind racing. The Supercarrier had been humanity's greatest weapon. No one had ever truly understood its full power. But the legends about it were enough to send chills through even the most hardened soldiers. Entire fleets had fallen before its guns. And then, just like that, it had vanished into the black void of space, leaving only rumors in its wake. The Coalition had long since forgotten about Earth. After the fall of humanity, other species rose to power. The Circa, the Ithrians, and countless other races had taken control of the stars. Humanity's legacy had been buried under layers of time, fading into nothing more than a myth. But now, it seemed as though that myth was about to come alive. What's the range of the signal? Rin asked, trying to steady his voice. His mind was already picturing what this could mean. It's weak, but it's growing stronger, Kira replied. We're already tracking it. It's coming from inside a deep sector, well beyond Coalition space. It's like something, or someone, is trying to reach us. Rin's heart beat faster. He had to make a decision. This wasn't just some routine signal. This was a call for help, a message from the past. If it was really humanity's greatest weapon, the galaxy had a problem. He stood up, his gaze fixed on the star map in front of him. Prepare a fleet. We need to investigate this immediately. If it's the Supercarrier, we need to know what's out there. Kira hesitated for a moment. Commander, are we sure this is the right course of action? If that ship is active, we could be walking into a trap. Humanity was destroyed for a reason. What if their legacy is one of destruction? What if I don't care about what-ifs? Kira, Rin interrupted, his voice firm. We can't ignore this. We don't know what we're dealing with, but we can't sit back and hope it doesn't come for us. Prepare the fleet. We leave in 1 hour. The room fell silent as the officers turned to carry out their orders. Rin's mind was already calculating the risks, the possibilities. Humanity's supercarrier had been thought lost forever. But now it seemed as though the galaxy might be on the brink of something far more dangerous than anyone could imagine. The Coalition's fleet gathered quickly, ships of all shapes and sizes, ready for whatever lay ahead. Commander Rin stood on the bridge of the lead ship, staring out at the darkness of space as they prepared to make the jump into the forgotten sector. The fleet's engines hummed quietly, and the atmosphere was thick with tension. The officers around him were on edge, unsure of what they would find. Commander Kira's voice broke through the tension. "We've just received another message from the source. It's different this time. It's not just a distress call anymore." Rin turned toward her, his eyes narrowing. "What is it?" Kira hesitated. "It's a message, a voice. It's human." Rin felt a chill run down his spine. It was hard to imagine, hard to accept, that humanity might still have a voice out there, that the supercarrier, the symbol of their strength, might be waiting, hidden in the dark reaches of space, ready to reappear. "Play it," Rin said, his voice tight. The message crackled to life, distorted at first, then clearer with each passing second. "This is Captain Alden Mercer of the United Earth Forces," the voice said. "We are not gone. We have returned. Prepare yourselves." Rin's breath caught in his throat. The words hit him like a hammer. It was real. Humanity was back. The fleet moved forward, deeper into the unknown, as the haunting message echoed in their minds and in the distance. The supercarrier humanity's lost Titan waited. The fleet of the Galactic Coalition moved silently through the cold expanse of space, its engines cutting through the dark like a blade. Commander Alaric Rin stood at the helm of the flagship, his eyes focused on the monitors. The stars outside were distant pinpricks of light, as if mocking the ship's fragile presence in the vastness of the universe. His crew worked in near silence, their faces illuminated by the dim glow of their consoles, each one haunted by the weight of what was ahead. They were approaching the coordinates where the signal had originated, deep within this forgotten sector, where few had dared to venture, lay humanity's last great weapon, the supercarrier. Rin couldn't shake the tension in his chest. The message they had received was clear enough. Humanity had returned, but what did that mean for the galaxy? Earth was gone, and with it, its people. Now, the galaxy had grown to fear its own power. Could they survive the return of a civilization that had once dominated the stars? "Commander," Lieutenant Kira's voice cut through his thoughts, pulling him back to the present. "We're entering the sector now. The supercarrier should be in visual range any minute." Rin nodded, his grip tightening on the console. He knew they were approaching a turning point. If the supercarrier was still active, it could change everything. Humanity was not just a distant memory, had become a nightmare that might return to haunt the galaxy. And then, just as Kira spoke, a voice filled the room, not from the speakers, but from the console. "Warning, incoming object detected." Rin's heart skipped a beat. He turned sharply toward Kira. "What is it?" The screens flickered for a moment before an image slowly formed. It was enormous, a dark shape against the stars, the outline of a ship unlike anything they had seen before, the Supercarrier. It loomed in the distance, a massive relic from the past. Its hull was scarred, its surface pockmarked with the marks of time, but there was no mistaking what it was. This was the ship that had terrorized the galaxy before humanity's fall. This was the Supercarrier, and it had returned. It's huge, Kira whispered, her voice filled with awe and fear. The ship was an imposing sight, far larger than anything the Coalition had. Its silhouette stretched across the stars, its dark form blocking out entire constellations. A relic of a past that no one thought would return. The crew was silent, unsure of what to do. The ship was dormant, seemingly lifeless, but the Coalition knew better than to assume anything. This ship had been the pinnacle of humanity's might, and no one knew what kind of power it still possessed. "Raise shields," Rin ordered, his voice steady but filled with urgency. "All ships, fall into formation. Keep your distance for now. We don't know what kind of weapons it's holding." As the fleet maneuvered into position, Rin couldn't help but notice the eerie stillness of the Supercarrier. It didn't move. Its systems seemed offline, but there was a faint pulse coming from deep within its core. The ship was alive. It was waiting, and then, without warning, a low rumble echoed through the space. The faint hum grew louder, turning into a deep, resonating growl. Rin's eyes widened as the massive Supercarrier slowly powered up. Lights flickered across its hull, and its engines rumbled to life. The old ship, long thought to be nothing more than a forgotten relic, was awakening. Rin's first instinct was to give the order to retreat. But before he could speak, a flash of light erupted from the Supercarrier. A beam of energy shot out from its massive structure, cutting through space with terrifying precision. It struck the nearby Coalition cruiser with the force of 1,000 suns. The ship's shields buckled under the blast, but the force of the hit sent it spiraling into a dangerous tumble. The cruiser's systems flared in a cascade of sparks, and before the crew could react, the ship exploded, disintegrating into space. The room was silent, save for the echoing hum of the Supercarrier's engines. It was a simple message, but it spoke volumes. The Supercarrier was awake. Humanity had returned, and they were not here to negotiate. Rin gritted his teeth, his mind racing. He had been prepared for an encounter, but not for this. The Supercarrier had just destroyed one of the Coalition's best ships in a single shot. They were no longer dealing with a dormant warship. They were facing an active, fully functional monster. "Commander, we're receiving a transmission," Kira said, her voice filled with a mix of fear and disbelief. Rin nodded. "Put it through." The screen flickered to life, and there, standing tall and unyielding, was Captain Alden Mercer. His uniform was worn, his face hardened by years of survival, but his eyes were sharp and filled with purpose. The man was no longer just a commander. He was the symbol of humanity's return. "We are not gone," Mercer's voice crackled through the transmission, his words heavy with meaning. "We've waited, we've watched. Now the galaxy will remember why it feared humanity." The transmission ended as quickly as it had started. Rin stared at the screen, his mind reeling. The message was clear. Humanity was back, and they weren't asking for permission. They were here to take what was once theirs. The fleet remained. In formation, tense and uncertain, every ship knew that they had just witnessed a terrifying display of power. The Supercarrier was not just a ship, it was a living weapon, a force of nature, and it had just made its presence known. "Prepare for engagement," Rin ordered, his voice steady, but a deep sense of dread filled his chest. He wasn't sure what to expect next, but he knew one thing: humanity's return would not be peaceful. The galaxy was on the brink of a new war, War against a power that had once been the galaxy's greatest fear. The monster had awoken. Asterisk, the supercarrier had awakened. The galaxy, once secure in its peace, now trembled at the thought of humanity's greatest weapon returning. The explosion of the Coalition cruiser still echoed in their minds, the images of destruction fresh in their memories. The message from Captain Alden Mercer had been clear. Humanity was not just back, it was claiming its place in the galaxy again, and the galaxy would have to reckon with it. Commander Alaric Rinn stood at the helm of the flagship, his hands gripping the console as his mind raced. The fleet had moved to a safe distance, but they all knew the truth now. Humanity was no longer a forgotten relic of the past. Their supercarrier had returned, and with it, a power that the galaxy hadn't seen in centuries. "This is madness," General Thrix of the Circa muttered from his station, his reptilian eyes narrowed in disgust. The humans were beaten. Their empire fell. What makes them think they can rise again? Rinn didn't answer immediately. He understood the general's disbelief. The galaxy had moved on since humanity's downfall. Other species had filled the power vacuum left by Earth's fall, and no one had given much thought to the remnants of the human race. But now, staring at the massive supercarrier in the distance, Rinn knew one thing. Humanity had not forgotten their place in the stars. They had been waiting. "The question isn't why they think they can rise again," Rinn finally said, his voice low. "The question is, what will we do about it?" The tension in the room was thick. Every officer on the bridge was acutely aware of the gravity of the situation. If the supercarrier was as powerful as the legends claimed and, based on the blast that had destroyed the Coalition cruiser, then they were dealing with a weapon beyond anything they had ever imagined. "We can't ignore this," Rinn continued, turning to his crew. "We need a plan. If humanity is back, we must understand their intentions. I want a team sent to investigate the supercarrier. No weapons, just intelligence. We need answers." There was a moment of hesitation, then Kira stepped forward. "Commander, do you really think they'll allow us to get that close? They fired on us without warning, and we've only seen a fraction of what that ship is capable of." Rinn nodded grimly. "I know, but we have no choice. We need to understand what we're facing before we escalate. If we attack now, we risk provoking a war we can't win." For a long moment, no one spoke. The officers understood the implications of Rinn's words. A full assault on the supercarrier would mean destruction. The ship had proven its might, and the entire fleet was no match for it. If humanity truly wanted to reclaim its place in the galaxy, there was little the Coalition could do to stop them. "We'll send the best," Rinn finally said. "Prepare a reconnaissance team, and be ready for anything. I don't care what the cost is. We need to know what we're up against." Back on the supercarrier, Captain Alden Mercer stood alone in the dimly lit command center, looking out into the vast void of space. The ship was alive with energy, its ancient systems roaring back to life. The crew, a mix of human survivors from Earth and descendants of those who had managed to survive the fall, moved quickly and efficiently, as if they had never been away from the stars. Mercer felt the weight of the moment on his shoulders. This wasn't just about war. This was about reclaiming their birthright. The galaxy had forgotten them, and now they were here to remind it who ruled the stars. "We've waited long enough," he muttered under his breath, his fingers tracing the surface of the console before him. "The Coalition won't be able to ignore us. We'll make sure of that." His officer approached, her expression serious. "Captain, we've received another message from the Coalition. They're sending a team to investigate." Mercer's lips curled into a small smile. "They're curious. Let them come. It's only a matter of time before they realize their position." He turned toward the officer. "Prepare the ship for their arrival. But let's make sure they understand who they're dealing with. We'll let them get close enough to see the power of humanity's legacy, but not too close. We need them to feel the weight of what we've become." On the bridge of the Coalition flagship, Commander Rin watched the Supercarrier grow larger as they approached. His crew was tense, eyes fixed on the massive ship ahead. It was unlike anything they had seen before, imposing, ancient, and terrifying. They had to be cautious. They had to be ready for anything. Approaching the Supercarrier, Kira reported, her voice steady but filled with anticipation. "We'll be in range in 2 minutes." Rin nodded, his heart pounding. This was the moment that would determine the future of the galaxy. "Prepare for communication," he ordered. "Send our team to board the Supercarrier. Number? Weapons. We're here to learn, not to provoke." As the fleet closed in on the Supercarrier, Rin couldn't help but wonder what would happen next. Would humanity offer them peace? Or would they demand something the galaxy was not ready to give? The comm officer spoke up again. "Commander, we're receiving a message from the Supercarrier." Rin's eyes narrowed. "Put it through." The screen flickered to life, and once again the image of Captain Alden Mercer appeared. His face was calm, but there was a hardness in his eyes that spoke volumes. "Commander Rin." Mercer's voice echoed through the bridge. "Welcome to the new era. Humanity is back. The galaxy will soon remember its place." Before Rin could respond, the transmission ended abruptly. The message was simple, but its weight was clear. Humanity had returned, and the galaxy would have to decide what to do with them. As the fleet of the Galactic Coalition stood by, uncertain of what the future held, one thing was clear. The return of humanity was inevitable. The Supercarrier, a symbol of Earth's power, stood ready to remind the galaxy of a forgotten past. The question was no longer if humanity would take their place among the stars, but when, and whether the galaxy was ready for what that would mean. The Coalition had no choice but to face the truth. Humanity was back, and they would never be ignored again. The vastness of space felt heavier than ever as the Coalition's fleet hovered at a safe distance from the Supercarrier. The ships were silent, their crews tense, waiting for the inevitable confrontation. Commander Alaric Rin stood at the center of the bridge, his eyes fixed on the massive shape of the Supercarrier looming on the view screen. The dark, imposing structure seemed to swallow the light around it, a reminder of the galaxy's past that no one was prepared for. "Commander," Kira's voice interrupted his thoughts. "We're in position. The reconnaissance team is ready to board the Supercarrier. They're waiting for your orders." Rin nodded, his mind sharp but clouded with doubt. He had ordered the team to make contact, to gather intelligence on humanity's true intentions. He had hoped that they would find a way to avoid conflict, to understand what had driven humanity to return after all these years. But with each passing minute, that hope seemed to fade. "What's the status of their communications?" Rin asked, his voice tense. "We've sent multiple messages to the Supercarrier," Kira reported, "but they've remained silent." "Number?" Reply: "It's as if they're waiting for us to make the first move. They want us to act," Rin muttered. "They're testing us, seeing what we'll do." The atmosphere on the bridge grew colder, more charged with the weight of what lay ahead. If humanity's intentions were truly hostile, then the Coalition was in grave danger. The Supercarrier's capabilities were unknown, but it had already proven its devastating power by destroying a Coalition ship with a single shot. A full-scale engagement could end in disaster. Rin turned to face his officers, his voice steady but filled with urgency. Prepare the fleet for action, but do not engage unless we are provoked. I don't want to escalate this into a full-scale war. We still don't understand what they want. On the Supercarrier, Captain Alden Mercer stood alone in the command center, staring out at the galaxy through the darkened windows. The ship hummed with life, its ancient engines roaring to life once again. He could feel the power coursing through the vessel, the pulse of the warship that had once struck fear into the hearts of all who had faced it. The galaxy had forgotten them, but they were back, and they would remind everyone why humanity had once been the dominant force in the stars. The comm officer's voice cut through the silence. Captain, the Coalition's fleet has entered the sector. They've stopped at a safe distance, but they've begun sending a team to board the Superior. Mercer's lips curled into a cold smile. Let them come, he said, his voice low but filled with purpose. They will learn quickly that humanity is not afraid, and they will know, in no uncertain terms, that we have returned to take what is ours. Mercer turned to face his crew. We will make no aggressive moves. Let them approach. They'll see the strength of our resolve, and when they do, they will understand. The communication officer hesitated. Captain, the fleet has made contact. They're sending their team in. Mercer nodded. Prepare our defenses, but we won't fire unless we are attacked first. The message must be clear. Humanity does not negotiate. We claim what we have lost. Back on the bridge of the Coalition flagship, Rin watched as the Supercarrier loomed large on the view screen. The reconnaissance team was on their way, but the silence from the Supercarrier was deafening. It was a trap of sorts. By remaining quiet, humanity was forcing the Coalition to make the first move. And if they were wrong, if humanity wasn't looking for a peaceful resolution, the consequences could be catastrophic. Commander Kira's voice interrupted the tense stillness. We're receiving another message from the Supercarrier. Heart raced. Put it through. The screen flickered, and once again, Captain Alden Mercer's face appeared. He stood in front of a backdrop of dimly lit machinery, his face as cold and resolute as ever. This is Captain Alden Mercer of the United Earth Forces. Mercer's voice echoed across the room, calm but carrying an undeniable weight. To the Galactic Coalition, you've sent your team to us, but understand this: we are not here to negotiate. Humanity is here to reclaim what was once ours. We are not here to ask for permission. The galaxy will remember us, whether you stand with us or against us. Rin's jaw clenched. The words were clear, unwavering. Humanity had no intention of discussing anything. They had returned to take control, and they weren't afraid to back it up with force. We are not here to destroy, Mercer continued, his gaze unflinching. But we will not be ignored again. Stand down, and we may yet offer peace. Resist, and you will feel the full power of humanity's legacy. The transmission ended abruptly, the finality of Mercer's words hanging in the air. Rin stood motionless, his mind racing. Humanity was not asking for peace. They were demanding it on their terms. And if the Coalition refused, they would face the full wrath of a weapon they had long since forgotten. They're not giving us a choice, Kira whispered, her voice trembling with the weight of what had just been said. Rin took a deep breath. his fingers pressing into the console. "Prepare for the worst. We need to be ready for anything. I won't allow the Coalition to be wiped out by an enemy we don't fully understand. But we must also make sure that humanity understands that they cannot take the galaxy by force. We will not let them." As the fleet hovered, waiting for the next move, Rin's thoughts were filled with uncertainty. The Supercarrier was not just a ship, was a force of nature, a symbol of humanity's past strength. And with each passing moment, the stakes were rising higher. The galaxy had forgotten humanity, and now it would have to face the consequences. Of that oversight, the final warning had been given. The galaxy had to decide whether to stand and fight or surrender to humanity's power. On the Supercarrier, Captain Mercer stood quietly as the communications officer sent the final message. The galaxy was on the brink of a new era, one that humanity would control. "We've done our part," Mercer said quietly. "Let them choose what comes next." The stars outside the windows seemed to shine a little brighter, a testament to humanity's return. The galaxy would no longer be the same.